thank you so much for joining the podcast today. When a lot of financial advisors first start initially taking a look at independence, they get really, really excited about the idea. But when they dig further into the process, sometimes the details, the logistics, both from the transition standpoint, starting up the office, and then just also ongoing responsibilities, sometimes it's just a little too much to take on that financial advisor at a certain point in time. And over about a 3 year period, I had the pleasure of working with Noah Geoghegan and Tom Manami based out of Hickory, North Carolina. And for multiple years on and off, we explored a lot of options in the independent channel. And LPL Strategic Wealth Services model, a model a lot of financial advisors don't know about, really helped Tom and Noah help their independent vision come to life, give them the flexibility and the ownership that they wanted, be able to offer the service that they wanted to their clients without getting distracted by some of the everyday headaches that typically business ownership comes along with. So today, I'm lucky enough to have on Noah to talk about a story of launching his independent practice, MG Wealth, from Truist Bank in 2004 in North Carolina. So Noah, I really appreciate you hopping on today.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, Corey.
Yeah, my pleasure. If you don't mind just starting off telling us a little bit, about your career prior to launching your practice, that would be great.
Yeah, I'll start. So I grew up in Pennsylvania. I grew up north of Philly in the Pocono Mountains. I wrestled in high school and was recruited to wrestle at Campbell University, which is south of Raleigh, kind of a small D1 program. That was back in 99, and fell in love with the state of North Carolina. At first there was an adjustment, period, but went to Campbell, and at Campbell had a trust and wealth management major. They also had a 3-2 program where you could get your MBA in 5 years, which, if you know anything about sports with a redshirt year, the 5 years really maps into kind of the plan really, really well. So got into finance, business, and wealth management there, and was hired basically to start my career at Wachovia Bank.
Very nice. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I used to vacation Lake Harmony, Poconos all the time.
Yeah, 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 that's right. Yeah, it's sort of a mountain playground for New York City. A lot of people don't realize it's 80 miles, to Manhattan. So, we had a lot of second home markets, similar to like a Blowing Rock or an Asheville in North Carolina. And that's kind of why I fell in love with Hickory, where I live today, when Wachovia moved me here. Very similar to where I grew up, outdoorsy, big enough where it's a city, but small enough where you feel like you know your neighbors.
Yeah, I love that. I broke my first bone at Camelback Mountain, but anyway.
Oh
Uh,
man, skied it a bunch of times. Sorry about that. Uh,
so, we talked over probably, on and off more of like a 5 year period in terms of, just what the independent landscape looks like in general. What were some of the things throughout your career, whether at Wachovia or Truist, that started to get you interested in business ownership and the independent business model?
yeah, so I guess you have to go kind of through the maturation of my career. And I started in as a trust officer, so managing trust funds for First Union Wachovia, right at that merger. Wachovia was sort of a smaller bank, a community bank, type of bank where you could call the CEO of the company and he'd get back with you. Some of the senior executives would meet with clients, that kind of thing. And then through 08, 09, which we all lived through that, the Great Recession, Wells Fargo came in and scooped up Wachovia, and sort of the dynamics changed. And that's when I started thinking about, how could I insulate our clients? How could we insulate our practice from sort of the ever changing banking field? I'd say that's when I first really thought about going independent, but didn't, because I left Wells Fargo and went to SunTrust, which is very similar to the old Wachovia. And as most know, SunTrust merged with BB&T, and that became Truist.
So as you started to go through, the independent exploration and, first having surface level conversations and then, diving in a little bit deeper, like what were some of the things that got you, super excited about what the future could bring?
Yeah, I guess I'm probably a bad client for you because so I have a business partner, Tom. Tom has the ability to make a decision very, very quick. And when he does that, he's usually right. I mean, he can be wrong, but let's say most of the time he's right. I'm more of an overthinker. If it's not broken, don't fix it. What if this? What if that? And so, as you know, working with me, there was a lot of unknowns in the independent channel, what platform to go to, what company, how can we manage the practice and still, I got in this business. I think most of us are in this business because we love clients. We love what we do. So I was really, I guess, hesitant to kind of take that step into entrepreneurship, knowing that I'd have to wear all these hats: CFO hat, business strategist hat, marketing hat, finance hat, bookkeeping hat, plus all the other roles and responsibilities that we have to do. And I think that's where you really helped us kind of weed out. I think we looked at 6 to 8 different platforms over the period to kind of whittle it down. But if that answers your question.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm that guy as well. So I'm patient with everyone that is that guy as well. I mean, my wife all the time, she's like, Corey, like just do it. Like
Yeah.
stop thinking.
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. So
so
if it was up to Tom, we probably want. So this is our two. We're coming up. March 27th will be our 2-year anniversary for MG Partners going independent. And if it was up to Tom, we would have left 5 years ago. So I sort of slowed the process down probably by 3 years. But I think we all kind of get to a pivotal moment. And for us, it was that second merger where Truist is a big bank. It's a great bank. The people there are wonderful, but we felt like this was the time for us to go independent. It was sort of a now or never. We're young enough where our runway is long. We have 20, 25 years in the industry at least, but that we've been around long enough that we have over 20 years experience under the belt. So it just felt like a good time for us to really take that leap.
what were some of the things that you wanted to accomplish by going independent? Like what were some of the things that you couldn't do, at Truist that maybe you wanted to do, somewhere else? Were there any like specific goals that you had?
Yeah, I think it's so many things. It's hard to condense, but I'll start with like the macro and then we'll kind of get down to specifics. But so, we'd always been in the banking channel and we were always with, kind of regional banks that were big enough that it could handle our clients, but small enough where it felt like a community bank. But over time in that industry, it seems like there's just further and further consolidation. So we kept finding ourselves being at like a firm that we loved and then a bigger organization would come in. And we still love the organization, but from a smaller organization to a larger organization, things change. And the biggest thing is a smaller organization, usually they're set up bottom up. So let's hire really good talent. Let's give them the autonomy and authority to run their practices, right? And they can make decisions on the spot for clients and you kind of manage your practice. We leave you alone as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Where top down, a larger organization, they basically set standards at the top and then push it through all the way down. And being in a market like Hickory, a lot of the processes, procedures, policies didn't make a whole lot of sense to us.
Yeah.
And when it starts affecting your client, that's when it's like, okay, now we have a kind of a decision to make. And so I think that's when we really started getting serious with this last move. As far as specifics, the best example I can give you is we have a marketing team here, and that marketing team's entire job is to promote our firm. It's about us. And I felt like when we were at the bigger banks, it wasn't about us. It was about the big bank. And so, you're sort of lost at sea with every other advisor, either at that firm or even your competitors. where here we feel like it's customized to our practice and our clients.
So as we talk through independence for, a couple different for a couple years, like what were your biggest fears? You already mentioned being everything, right? You know,
Right,
you're the CEO, you're the technology person, you're
right,
the asset manager, you're the
right.
paraplanner, you're everything. So,
The bookkeeper. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think a little bit about our practice. So my business partner Tom specializes, he's a CFA, also a CFP, but he specializes in money management. So he's throughout the years I've worked with him, he's always run the money. And so that's sort of his runway or his path. And then I do everything else. And so for me, I knew it was going to be laborious, right? Because Tom, we want him focused on our clients' assets, returns, et cetera, goals and objectives, where I'm going to have to fill in all the gaps and pieces. And so I think there was a fear, like you said, of wearing all those hats. Well, I love clients. Am I going to be bogged down in all this minutia, right? Where I can't be client facing as much. So I think that was one fear. I think there's an obvious fear. Will the clients come? Right. I mean, that's you said they would, and they did, but there's always that sort of back of the mind fear. And it's just what we don't know. So when you do something new, that's why you get hesitant on change because I know that there's things I don't know. And what does that mean for us financially? What does that mean for our clients? Also, when you make a change, you're affecting your clients, and you hate to make a change that affects clients if it's not absolutely necessary. But best decision we ever made. Tom was right. We probably should have done it 5 years ago.
hey, breaking in real quick. I really hope you're enjoying this episode and finding my YouTube channel of value. If you're a high performing financial advisor that can use somebody as a guide or a resource to explore all your transition options out there in the marketplace, I'm a non biased, independent transition consultant that can help make this process so much easier for you. And another plus, it costs absolutely nothing to work with me. If you want to have a conversation, please feel free to text, call, email, DM me. My contact information is all over this episode, and I'll let you get back to it. So let's talk about LPL's strategic wealth model for a second, because like almost the second that you had a conversation and learned about that model, you were almost like, "Hey, that's it." For someone that's worried about doing, all of these things and having all of these different logistics on top of bringing over your clients and keeping them happy, you know, they just allowed you to pretty much do that. Bring over your clients and focus on the relationship and taking care of them and what's important. Can you talk about, what you found attractive about that and some of the things that they've taken off of your plate versus launching a business entirely on your own?
Yeah, I'd be glad to. So first of all, we had no idea it existed. So the strategic wealth model, we call it Swiss over here. I didn't know it existed. I think it's probably one of the best kept secrets in the industry. The way I describe it, it's turnkey. So when we transitioned from Wells Fargo to Truist, eventually Truist, that transition was a really difficult one. Okay. And that was from basically big bank brokerage wirehouse to big bank broker wirehouse. And so you sort of have your battle scars from that transition. And to your point about all wearing all the different hats, so the strategic wealth model is an enhanced model where they give you all the support that I had at the bank. So plus, to help your independent channel. So, for example, real estate space, right? So now we got to move out of the banking channel and the bank building that provides us our office space, and we've got to find a new space. Well, I don't know what to do. I don't know what market rents are. I don't know where the Class A office space is. Well, Swiss has a real estate expert, and that's all that person does is help independent teams leave and find their space. They help negotiate our lease. We've got a Class A office space. They help knock the rent down, and we don't personally guarantee it. So that's all things that I'm not sure I could have done on my own. That's just one example, right? We have a marketing team. So I already, alluded to the fact that they're the stars. I mean, our marketing team, it's unbelievable. They did a launch video, a professional launch video. You can go to our website and look at it. It was amazing. I had other advisors call me that aren't even looking to go independent that said, "Hey, man, that was amazing." They still support us. We have insurance, we have planning, we have tax, we have estate, we have trust. I could go on and on. We basically had all the support plus more. We have a assigned bookkeeper, we have a CFO, so we have a chief financial officer, we have a business strategist. We obviously have the compliance overlay who are incredibly easy to work for. I feel like our compliance actually is trying to help us do new things, creative things, but obviously stay within the lanes we should stay in.
Yeah, and it's been such a game changer. I mean, there's quite a few firms out there like a Strategic Wealth Services where we'll take all of these things, they will package them together, and really, in short, take the reasons to going independent, to saying no to going independent off of the table. Even some of the things that you didn't mention, like starting up your insurance and all of those different things, you have someone holding your hand to kind of, get all of those things started. And it's one of the easiest ways to launch a, elite business and make a move to independence. But another thing a lot of financial advisors don't know, and just in the last 2 years, Noah, things that have really changed. Even if you decide to go out and launch your own business, all the things that you just mentioned, the office space, the marketing, the website build out, like all of the logistics, once you make the decision of which firm to go to, there are so many outside firms now that are absolute pros at connecting the dots, asking you the right questions, and pointing you in the right direction of these things. You could kind of build your own model, yourself as well. So that's a big part of the process that's made independence just be having the ability to go independent be easier than ever over the last, couple years as well. But just have had amazing success with Strategic Wealth Services. So.
Yeah, I echo that. Every hurdle or pause or hesitation I had, it seemed there was a solution for it. And so I'd say if you're thinking to go independent, don't wait, go do it. And the transition, transitions are hard. I mean, let's not pretend like they aren't, but it was seamless with the LPL and the strategic wealth model. It was so much more fluid. By about 30 days, we probably had 60 to 70% of the assets already ported over. And then by 90 days, it was like, okay, we could see, we're here. And so there's kind of this key. And then 6 months in, I'd say, we felt a sense of routine. And then 1 year in, it was like, all right, now we're rocking and rolling. And so that's kind of the for us the how the timeline worked.
That's awesome. So you were 400 million in assets, I think, when you decided to leave Truist. Where are you at today?
We're at 300 million.
Okay.
Um, there was some business at Truist that we strategically didn't take with us. It was more banking business. So we were, money market funds or rolling CDs. That was very laborious and, wasn't very, I guess revenue generating. So we strategically kind of left some of that behind, or we priced it here way different. And so, a lot of that business didn't come. But what I will say is with less under management, we're taking home so much more. And part of that is just we're not W-2 anymore. So we're entrepreneurs. And most of our client base are entrepreneurs. So we always had this entrepreneurial spirit, but we're just a little bit nervous about taking that leap.
Yeah, and thank you for disclosing all of that. I just think it's so important for financial advisors to know in this process that like it's okay to take a little bit of a step back in your asset level. I was talking with a financial advisor a couple weeks ago. He also transitioned like 2 years ago. He wound up getting terminated from his firm for something so ridiculous, scrambled for his reputation. He brought 60% of his assets with him. but was making more money than ever before. All of the clients that came with him were his true fans. He had 50% more time to focus servicing on those clients or going out and being able to build, more relationships while making more money than ever before. So, taking a step back to make a leap forward is just, sometimes such a blessing in these transitions and kind of right sizes the ship.
Yeah, and it's not at all about the money, but we take home so much more with less just because of the tax, benefits, and some of the strategic positioning you can do to help take advantage of, the tax code's basically made for small businesses. And so there's just so many advantages that that we can utilize that just wasn't available, at as a W-2 employee.
I love it. So, how have things been for clients? Like you're 2 years in now. Like, how has your business changed? I mean, you already talked about marketing a little bit, like asset management, like use of technology, kind of communication with your clients. Like how are you running your business differently now than you were 2 years ago?
Yeah, I think at the top, it's about our practice and our clients. So it's not about some big publicly traded firm. It's about us. It's customized. We've launched AI tools, which I don't know if the other channel, the bank brokerage channel, I can't imagine that they're utilizing AI, but we've got approved platforms where we're utilizing AI frequently now. Communications way easier. So, we do monthly newsletters, weekly updates. We have, a dedicated website. We have an app, so it's branded to our firm. So clients go into our app. Integrated into that is their financial plan. So we use Wealth Vision, which is integrated with our app. So it's just like so seamless, and it's all for our clients and about our firm. And as far as communication, we have a marketing team that's just fantastic. We do similar, we'll do 2, 3 client events a year, just like we did in the old world. But now, we paid for them in the old world, right? We're paying for them now, but now it's about us. It's about us and our clients and giving them, the content that they need. So it's really, really neat. We're probably going to start doing a video blog, and we're also going to start doing quarterly investment update calls, but include not just our clients. So it's going to be more, broad brush for COIs, family, friends, anybody who wants to call in.
I love it. I mean, that extra communication, I mean, I know the answer to the question, but I know that is equal, more referrals for you. But like just being able to, I've said this on like so many podcasts, but like the fact that like every single one of your market updates or your communications, like your clients are reading that in your voice that they know and trust, and not the voice of some like chief investment officer that they've never met before. Like they're hearing it in Tom's voice,
Correct.
investment guy on your team. It's so valuable to not only your clients, but your COIs, your prospective clients, to just tell them like how you're different and how you're providing value. It's such a game changer for advisors making the move W-2 to independent. But I'm curious, like how have referrals been since you made the leap and launched your own business?
I mean, it's absolutely great. It changed. So, I think being in the bank channel, a lot of times we would call on, the commercial banking group, or some folks are in a branch, so we weren't, but they might get their referral leads from a branch. And now, it's from, community organizations, obviously I have a call tomorrow. So client's sister's retiring, right? So out of the blue, can you help my sister? Of course. So just that kind of thing. That's a weekly to monthly ordeal, and it's just different, but it's I'd say it's more meaningful, and the prospective clients we get to choose them, instead of having to field through all these leads.
That's awesome. So do you feel like it's been, more leads, more quality, like less leads, more quality? Like what are your
Yeah, I'd say it's probably less leads, but more quality, if that's a fair, statement.
sounds like a good deal to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Less work and higher closure rate. And it's so interesting, like even on the marketing side, not to keep reiterating that, but like we can see our engagement, like so who's opening what, how long they're staying, are they reading the entire, documents that we send, and we've gotten sort of applauded by our marketing team for the level of engagement from our COIs and clients. So that's kind of neat. So that's how you're doing a good job, right? And so they have a way of keeping track of all that.
Yeah, and I mean that's awesome to be able to get that data, to be able to pivot, to be able to just be able to make smarter decisions in terms of, what's of value to your audience.
Exactly.
I love all of the feedback. I could tell on the smile on your face that things are going extremely well for you.
Yeah. So I think another clear advantage to being an independent channel is we can grow inorganically. So my entire career, it's been organic growth. And what I mean by that is you call in a client, you go through make their prospective client, go through the sales process, help provide a solution, and then they're a client. So you're doing it one client at a time. And the independent channel, there's inorganic growth opportunities. That's one of the reasons we also like LPL. They're the largest. And we've gotten, so we haven't pulled the trigger yet, but we've gotten three, what I would call at bats, to use a sports analogy, where three folks that were looking to either exit because they want to retire. So the average age of an advisor is nearing 60 years old. And so, folks they don't have a succession plan or thinking about exiting. So that was one example. And other were smaller advisors that wanted to plug into the independent channel, but couldn't access strategic wealth, right? So the way they can do is they can plug in with us, then they have access to all our resources, all our models, our policies, processes, and procedures, and it's a plug and play. And so we've gotten three opportunities there, and we have three in the hopper. So I think the future for us is to continue growing, but maybe grow inorganically.
Yeah, that's super exciting. And just, I mean, yeah, I mean, people have the ability to plug into, the offerings that, large corner office teams are getting. So, imagine being a $500,000 producer, but having access to hundreds of thousands of dollars per year worth of services, like a chief investment officer, a chief marketing officer, like financial planning support, like all of these things. It's like having a team, all around you, still with the payout and independence or ownership of independence.
Right. And then, that individual can engage at what level they want, and they can create their practice the way they want to see it. And so it's really kind of a win-win for somebody that was looking to explore the independent channel, but didn't want to do it alone.
I love it, man. I'm excited for the future for you. Congrats on all of the success. I can tell that you're really enjoying the business ownership side. We've talked about some of the opportunities you have coming your way. So, super excited. I guess one last question, for a financial advisor that is, either starting their due diligence or like before they make a leap to another firm, do you have any suggestions for them just based off of your experience?
Yeah, I mean, do your research on your own. I think partnering with y'all was big for us because what you helped explain a lot of the unknowns. And then when you can compare platforms, so we looked at over five different platforms, right? And they're all good, and they all have their advantages and they all have their disadvantages. And so you can kind of find what's my hot buttons? What do I love? Is it technology? Is it marketing? Is it growing? How do I want to grow? So partner with somebody like you, like a broker that can help weed that, and do your research, take your time, make sure you're making the right decision. There's no doubt we made the right decision now. but when you're in the thick of it, it's a little, it can be daunting.
It's a lot of information being thrown your way all at one time. At the same time, your brain is one half at your current firm and one half thinking about what could be. It's a lot of brain space that's being occupied. I totally agree with you, and I'm so happy you trusted me and that you made the right decision. No, I really appreciate the time today, and real thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Good to catch up, Corey.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for listening today. If you heard anything of value at all, I have over 250 other videos on my YouTube channel answering the questions that 1,000 advisors have asked me over the years when they're starting through this process, and over 100 conversations, just like the one today, of financial advisors talking about their story, making a move, and what life is like on the other side. So, Noah, thanks again so much. And if anyone has any questions, please reach out.
If you're thinking about it, do it. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Noah. Hope you have a great
Thank
day.
you, Corey. Take
See you.
care.